Welcome to It's No Accident, a podcast about the challenges of personal injury and wrongful death law in Florida, one of the nation's most complex legal environments.
You'll hear compelling stories about real cases from our law firm in Tallahassee that will help you better understand your rights and protect yourself from the negligence of others.
I'm Mark Nonni.
And I'm Jaeson Homola.
And this is
It's No Accident. Being that we're in Florida and the weather gets nicer here as we're coming out of the winter and into the spring sooner than it does throughout most of the rest of the country, we are one of the spring break capitals of the U.S. for colleges and high school students. And not just spring break students, but, just families coming here on vacation. We're a huge tourist state. It's no secret. So we tend to see a lot of clients that are here from, they get into an incident or they get injured and they're visiting from another state or even another country. What are some of the things that you've seen and some of the things that you suggest, pitfalls, do's, don'ts for people that are visiting from Florida on vacation or visiting to Florida on vacation?
Sure. Yeah, no, like you said, we see it a lot all the time. I mean, it's really all year round. I mean, whether it's in the wintertime, it's snowbirds,
Right.
and then going into spring break, you got people coming for spring break, and then the summer they're coming for the beaches and all the summer, attractions and activities. And so we see it a lot. And I mean, I'd say one of the main things that we see that people don't always realize is, they come down here and unfortunately their, trip or their vacation gets interrupted with some type of an injury, whether it's a car wreck or a fall or, something happens and they get hurt because of someone else's negligence. And a lot of people don't realize that, like if you get hurt in Florida, most likely the only place you're going to be able to bring that claim is going to be in not only the state of Florida, most likely the county where it happened,
Right.
And attorneys are licensed state by state, so a lot of times what we'll see is usually the progression is they get hurt, they don't call an attorney right away, they go back home to, Michigan or New Hampshire or wherever they came from, and they call an attorney there, and the attorneys there are like, I'm not licensed to practice law in Florida. You need an attorney in Florida, right? And then we end up getting a call later on, and they're telling us the story, like, yeah, I was calling all these attorneys up where I live, and no one would help me. And then I'm glad I finally found you because, like I said, attorneys are licensed state by state, and there's no national license to be an attorney. So if you get hurt in Florida, your case can only be brought in Florida, which means you need a Florida attorney, right?
And the laws are going to be different here than they're going to be in Ohio, Michigan, New Hampshire, wherever it might be. So, you call an attorney up there and they might not necessarily, the laws up there might be completely different, whether it be their auto negligence laws or their premises liability laws or their insurance laws. Their laws most likely are going to be quite a bit different than what they are in Florida.
Right, exactly. And, and I'd say most of the time, most attorneys are in these other states understand that, and they're good, trustworthy people, and they're going to tell you up front, hey, I can't help you. You need to contact an attorney in Florida. But, you never know. Sometimes, I mean, I've seen it before where an attorney who's not licensed in Florida is going to say, oh, I can try to help you with this. And like you said, you end up maybe getting sideways in your case because the attorney doesn't realize what the laws are like here,
Right.
And so I know, I think you recently had a case where they were down here from going to Disney, right?
Yeah, I had a case. Actually, I'm still working on this case. They were down here. They had just gotten here, going to a family vacation down here from the Midwest, going to Disney, and they were involved in a pretty severe auto collision. And luckily, he found us and he called us right away. He didn't go through any other attorneys. And we were able to get preservation letters and all of the notice letters out that we needed to and get on the case very quickly and help him get into, medical treatment, basically say, look, you need to, I know, you might not think this is a big deal because it was a guy and he was telling me that a certain part of his body was hurting really badly. And, he didn't necessarily, he was going to give it a week or two. And, just telling him, look, you should get checked out as soon as possible because you see it, I see it all the time. Insurance companies, whether it's in Florida, it's probably throughout the entire United States. if you have the bigger gap in treatment you have at the beginning of your case, the more they're going to focus on that. They want to see you getting treatment immediately. So, I only say that because, he got in touch with us pretty quickly. We were able to, work through some of the preliminary issues as to, what insurance was going to, how his insurance was going to play out, as opposed to, because he didn't have insurance through Florida. His auto insurance was through a different state, and not all states are no-fault states. So you've got issues with how your medical bills are going to get paid right off the bat. Is your health insurance paying? Is your auto insurance paying? So we're able to figure out those issues, and then not only that, helping him find doctors up in he's from Minnesota. So helping him find some doctors up there, and we really didn't have to. I mean, he pretty much had everything under control, but they always have lots of questions about should I be going to an ortho, should I be going to a chiropractor, what should I be doing? So we're able to get that stuff taken care of pretty quickly.
I know, kind of switching gears, but along the same lines, I know, again, with so many people coming down to Florida throughout the years, especially during spring break, a lot of times you'll see, unfortunately, college kids, maybe even high school kids coming down, partying, having some beers, getting a little drunk and causing car wrecks there, right? And I know in those situations, obviously if you're getting hit by a drunk driver, obviously you have a claim against the drunk driver and that person's insurance. But a lot of times, there's also some additional claims that sometimes come up, especially when you're talking about underage kids and drinking, right? In terms of, bars or restaurants and stuff like that, which I know you've handled several, dram shop cases over the years, right?
Right. And they're tough. The law is certainly not in the favor of the individual that might be at one of these establishments if they are underage and they're drinking and they end up getting hurt. But the laws are in place to protect, vulnerable folks. So, if you've got somebody that's, closer to 21, typically juries aren't going to feel the same way with them that they will somebody that's like 15 or 16 if they're getting served at a bar. But basically the laws in Florida are that if you're served alcohol at a bar, you're underage, they have to knowingly serve you as an underage person in order for you to bring a claim against them if you get drunk and then go out and get in a vehicle and injure yourself.
Right.
So they basically have to know you're the person's under 21. Right?
They do. And it's very difficult to prove that. You can do it through constructive notice, basically saying, show a picture of the person and be like, you really think that this person was 21 and there's a picture of somebody that looks like they're 12.
Right.
That's a question for the jury, but some of it gets a little bit, it's more of a gray area, and it's difficult to prove those cases.
Sure.
I've handled a bunch of them, and I've had some of them unfortunately get dismissed. Some of them go forward, but it's always a close call on those cases, and they're very difficult.
Right. Yeah. I mean, in those kind of situations, it's almost like if the underage kid has a fake ID, that almost becomes like a defense for the bar.
It is. That's written right into the statute. If you can prove that the underage kid used a fake ID to gain access to the bar and to gain access to the alcohol, that is a complete affirmative defense for the bar. Basically, look, they lied to us. They had an ID that looked like them and said that they were 21, and we didn't have any reason to believe that it wasn't. Of course, then you get into these arguments as to, well, how did you check the ID? Did you have a scanner for the ID? Right. Did you have a police officer at the door that was checking the IDs? Were your employees trained on how to spot a fake ID? So you start getting into all of those issues. But if you're using a fake ID and you gain access to alcohol at a bar and then you're injured and you want to make a claim against the bar, you've got an uphill road for sure.
Right. And I guess, another topic that comes up a lot being here in Florida and people coming from out of town is there's pools everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And there's specific different, I guess, rules and potential liabilities associated with, whether it's an individual or an apartment complex or a condo complex having a pool.
Yeah.
And, what we call the attractive nuisance, right?
Right. That's an interesting term. That's a law school term that you go to law school and you're like, what is an attractive nuisance?
Right.
It's a term of art that's used in legal proceedings, and basically what it means is that as the owner of a property that has a swimming pool on it, or really anything that would be would tend to attract an underage minor to it, swimming pool being the main example.
Right.
You are on notice that kids are going to try to get into your swimming pool or try, they're going to do whatever they can to get into your swimming pool and use your swimming pool. So because of that, there's a heightened duty.
Sure.
You have to have, a fence around your swimming pool. You have to have certain types of locks on it or opening and closing mechanisms to deter minors from getting into the area. Obviously, there's going to be a difference between a kid that's 3 years old and a kid that's 16 years old. The law is going to look at a 16-year-old and say, look, yeah, they had everything that they were supposed to have. You just jumped over the fence and got in the pool, right, and you injured yourself. Whereas when you're dealing with like a 3 or a 4-year-old, we always have the argument that, why wasn't he being watched? But at the same time, if the kid sneaks off and he finds his way to the neighbor's property and there's a swimming pool there and there was no gate around the pool, or there was a gate but the door was left open or didn't have the right locking mechanism, and he gets in there and unfortunately, he drowns or there's some sort of other catastrophic injury, the homeowner is going to be held responsible. And, there's going to be arguments made against that homeowner, saying, why didn't you have a gate up, or why didn't you have these certain locks on your gate?
Sure.
And it's scary as a homeowner. Yeah. I mean, it's a scary thing, and you just have to do everything that you can to protect against it.
Sure. Yeah, no, for sure. And it's not only homeowners, but also, a pool at an apartment complex, a pool at a condo place, or at a hotel or something like that, which, it's not, I don't need statistics, but I feel like a lot of the times when we see those cases, it's more of those commercial places in terms, a lot of times homeowners are, if you got a pool and you're a homeowner, you're very aware of this and you're maybe a little overly, concerned and attentive to making sure everything's in place. Whereas a lot of times at, a big, commercial place, big condo or hotel or something, they're maybe not as concerned because it's just the employees, it's not their house, it's not their property. And you end up, even like you're saying, you could have all the right fencing and everything like that, but that latch on that gate's been busted for the last 6 months and they keep putting in work orders and no one's fixed it, right?
They tend to get complacent.
Right, and so you see it there. And really part of it, kind of like you were saying a second ago with, being a difference between a 16-year-old versus a 4-year-old, part of the reason for the law and the way it is, like you said, I mean, there are certain things we know kids are going to be attracted to and are going to think are fun and want to go in and play with, but also they don't really necessarily appreciate the danger involved, right? Exactly. And the younger the kid is, the less they're going to appreciate that danger, which is why the law is set up the way it is, to give more protection to those kids. And so you see it a lot. And one thing I've noticed too over the years, and there's not like a specific law that says this, is maybe just more of a trend, and especially down around any of these vacation areas, whether it's over by the beach, west of here, or even down around Orlando and stuff, is you'll have at a condo with a pool in the backyard, and you have like a sliding glass door where if it's open for more than 20 seconds, a loud alarm will start to go off, right? Mm-hmm. And then it goes off, the alarm starts sounding to let you know the door's been open, and now someone can get out and get inside the pool. And then as soon as you shut the door, the alarm goes off, right? And I've noticed that there's more and more, we just went back in October to a place in Orlando that had that. And as annoying as it is, you can understand why, why some of these places would want.
It's there for a reason.
It's there for a reason, but it also is, and then becomes an issue, a potential liability for them because if something malfunctions with that alarm,
right?
And they're not maintaining it correctly.
Right. Now, then it becomes a question of how often were you maintaining it?
Right. Because no one ever, I don't think there's any law that said they had to put it in the first place.
Right.
So, I mean, just like anything, you gotta, I guess really the point is you got to, put up the fence and do the different safety precautions, but it's not just set it and forget it. You got to make sure you're maintaining these things, right?
Right. And yeah, I mean, it's scary not only for the homeowner or the business owner or the person that has the pool, but it's scary for the parents of the young kids, because you have young kids. I have a young kid, and they find danger.
Yeah.
They find it.
Yeah.
They see, it's almost like they seek it out, and you just hope that there's mechanisms in place to keep them from hurting themselves.
Yep, absolutely.
No matter your injury, Nonni Homola is here to help you recover. Visit noho.law today.